Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today, oh yeah, we're out for a nice ride on a blistering hot afternoon in sunny Tallahassee, Florida. And let me tell you, when I say it's hot, it's hot. You know, the temperature here today was 99 and the heat index was about 108 degrees, so it's been a warm one, but it's a nice day for a ride if you can stand it. So today we are going to be talking about something that I get asked about a lot, and that is the dependability of the Can-Am Spyder. Always a controversial one. Be sure and leave some comments down below. Leave a comment on your comment. And if you've had problems with yours being dependable, or yours has been stone cold dependable, or anything in between, share your truthful and fair comments down below. Please don't be hateful and nasty to people. You know, oh, well, mine did this, so you're an idiot. Don't do that kind of stuff. All right. Well, before we get going, if you would give the video a big old fat thumbs up, because you know a regular thumbs up won't do. Share this video with your friends. It helps the channel grow, and man, do I like that. All right. So let's talk about the Can-Am Spyder and its dependability. But before we get going, I do want to mention this beautiful Can-Am Sea to Sky 2024 model does not belong to me. BRP is allowing me to ride this, and I really do appreciate it. But that being said, I have a 2019 sitting in the garage right now. I don't need their Spyder. I mean, it's nice to have, right? I'm just going to tell you. But it's not like I need it. I've got one, and mine rides great. I want you to know I have vast experience. I've crossed the country north to south, from Key West to Maine and back. I've also crossed the continent east to west, Atlantic to Pacific Ocean and back. It was an amazing trip. Both were amazing trips with my beautiful wife, the effervescent Coach Vic. Make sure down below you also say hi to the effervescent Coach Vic, because we know that is important. But I did want to make sure that you knew that although I have skin in the game with my own Spyder, this particular Spyder does not belong to me, and I wouldn't want you to think that I was trying to hide something from you, because that would not be cool. All right, so is the Can-Am reliable? Well, first I'm going to let the cat out of the bag and give you my personal answer. You know, don't you hate it when a politician won't give you an answer? In my experience, yes. So now, depending on who you ask, you will get a different answer. But in my experience, yes. I've ridden thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of trouble-free miles on Can-Am Spyders. But I'm going to discuss many things that may make you sway into one side or the other as far as dependability is concerned. Well, that guy was kind of loud. All right. So now that I've given you the short answer, let's talk about mitigating factors about how one may or may not be dependable. I'm going to tell you that if you don't take care of your Spyder, it will not be dependable. So what do I mean by that? If you don't look after it, if you don't put it on a battery tender, if you don't, you know, have your regular maintenance done to it, it's not going to be dependable. I don't believe it will be. And that goes for any finely tuned machine. I don't care if it says Ducati and it's European. I don't care if it says Harley Davidson and it's American, or Buell and it's American. I don't care what it says on it. I don't care if it says Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha. If you don't take care of a finely tuned engine, and the more finely tuned it is, the more critical that is, by the way. So if you have an extremely high performance motorcycle, I've got a Triumph Speed Triple, and if I don't keep it, I mean, maintained every year, regardless of how much I ride it, it's just not going to run. And if it does run, it's going to run like crap. That's just how it is. So if you don't take care of it, dependability, well, it's a crapshoot with anything, but in particularly something that's high performance. So now that we have your responsibility side of it out of the way, now we can talk about the feelings that many have shared with me as far as dependability is concerned. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Spyder's potential for failure, and is there a failure point, and have I ever experienced a failure point in the terms of reliability. yes, I have experienced a failure point, and I want to tell you about it. Years ago, I was making a trip. I was coming back from Hot Springs, and it was 100 plus degrees outside, and I got stopped in a traffic jam on I-10 in Mobile, Alabama. I was on a bridge, and I had no coverage from the sun. The Spider cut off. Now, I have a lot of theories on this. I mean, I checked the battery connections. I did a lot of things, and there was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you what I think happened, and I can't attest to what actually happened or not. I think I bumped the kill switch. Now, the newer models, the kill switch is the start switch, right? But in the old models, you'd had a start button and you had your kill switch. So if you had turned that off and you hit the starter button, it was just, you were just pressing a button that had no juice going to it. And I believe that's what happened. Again, I can't attest to the fact that that is a definitive answer because I don't know. When I started going through things, I just started flipping the switches back and forth. And as I did that, I cranked it up a few minutes later. I say a few minutes, about 30 minutes later. Now, is that something that happened after it cooled down and it had a problem because it got too hot, or did I hit the kill switch? I have never since had that happen again. Just to let you know, not one time. So if I were a betting man, I would say that I bumped the kill switch. Now, there are those who are going to go, wow, what kind of idiot does that? Well, this kind. So you can call me names or call me whatever. It doesn't change the fact that things do happen in life. All right. And there's no trouble light on the dash that indicates that that switch has been hit. So there you go. So is that what happened? That was my only true failure. Now, one of the things that I've complained about many times, if you remember in the old days, the Spider-Man cartoons and the old shows, he had his spidey senses, right? The Spider, every now and then, if it's like really hot, and I've had this happen on my machine several times, if I'm over in Bike Week and I'm going from red light to red light for hours at a time and it's just brutally hot, the Spider has cut off on me before. It's always cranked back up. Was it something that it was like it just fired right back up? No, I had to you know, hold the starter for about 5 to 10 seconds and it cranked up. But it's never let me down. It's never failed me. It's never left me stranded anywhere. It's never left me on the side of the road in a parking lot. None of that stuff. It's always cranked up. So I want you to know that as far as dependability, as far as I'm concerned, with what I've experienced, it's been stone cold, stable as a rock, but it does send me some weird Spidey vibes every now and then where, like I said, it may take me a little longer to crank it, and I don't like that, but it's never let me down, and it's never been a deal breaker for me because it's not the only motorcycle that I've owned that's done that. I've had that happen with a Harley before. Now, of course, they're air cooled, the ones that I rode way back when in the day, and when they would get hot, weird things like that would happen. I'd had a Harley I was riding, and it just cut off, would not crank. Took the breather off of it, and all of a sudden it cranked right up. So I don't know what was going on there either, but things do happen with motorcycles and machines, generally speaking. But the Spider has been dependable, but it has sent me some mixed signals every now and again. And then you have to talk about fail points. Are there fail points on the Spider? Are there weak spots on the Spider? Well, I believe there are. One of them, I'm going to tell you, I think that I think the Spider needs a better belt guard system, or a belt guard system just that will protect it from a rock slinging up onto the belt. You know, I had a subscriber here recently, Ed. Hi, Sergeant Ed. How you doing? And he was on a road that you know, when you're in certain parts of the country and they're constructing roads, you can ride through sections of gravel, and little rocks, little pea-sized gravel will get slung up, and if it goes through that belt, it can damage that belt. It can punch a hole in it, create a weak spot, and then all of a sudden you've got a belt that's useless. It can damage the teeth on your sprocket, that sort of thing. Well, Ed was the victim of such said event, and then he got to a Spyder dealer. First off, he had to have the Spyder towed quite a ways, and it was a costly tow bill. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a lot. So he gets it there, and then the dealership does not have a belt. There are 2 dealers within 200 miles, and neither one of them had belts. So what they ended up having to do was order a belt, and the belt took, I don't know, 3 to 5 days for it to come in. Well, he's not home, and so he's there waiting and waiting and waiting, which means a hotel room every night. Now, I know that it's not Can-Am's fault that the belt, got damaged, but a nice guard for that belt could mitigate some of that, certainly alleviate 80% of the people that I know that have had minor things happen with major outcomes. The real problem is parts acquisition. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. If the machine is stone cold dependable, but in the event that something goes wrong, parts are hard to get, then that's a problem. It's a real problem, and it is a problem here in America. I can't speak for our Canadian brothers and sisters or people over in Europe, but I would assume that in Europe it's as bad or worse. Getting parts can be a nightmare. I've had friends who waited 5 months for parts. I've had friends who got parts overnight. Ed had to wait 5 days. Those things do happen. I had a buddy of mine had one of the little newer Maverick trucks. I think it was a 23 model. He paid about 30 grand for it. He had it for a month or so, and something happened. Something mechanically happened to it, and the part, they could not get a part for the truck. He waited for 5 months. He was paying a payment on this truck, insurance on this truck, and he couldn't drive it. Now, it was not a major problem in the sense that it was not a difficult thing to fix, but getting the part was difficult. I've seen it on Ducatis, I've seen it on my Triumphs, I've seen it on the Hondas. Parts can be somewhat elusive. So just understand when you get something that is not a normal vehicle. Now, I would say that a little Maverick truck would be normal. And you would think that on a newer vehicle that parts would be easily ascertained. But sometimes that's not the case. So I do want you to be aware of that. Even if the machine is stone cold dependable, but something small goes wrong, you could end up waiting a few days or a week or even a month to get a part, and that's not cool. But it's the reality. I think it's a real problem globally with many manufacturers. It's just the way it is. I don't like it. I just recognize it. I'm not one of those people that scream foul and walk around and use profanity and scream and holler. I don't do that. I got to look at something here. Let me see what the sign says. Let this truck get by me. Okay, Saturday from 9 to 5. Okay. I have some debris from my backyard I got to bring out here. So parts acquisition is a hit or miss thing. I just want you to know that. I hate that, but it's the way it is. So the next issue as far as maintaining your vehicle, maintaining the Spyder, is this. Finding a dealer that you trust, that you believe is going to do a good job on the machine, and that you believe is going to be dependable and honest with you. Now, I've got one here in town called Orion, and I love Orion. I had a subscriber here recently actually unsubscribe because I had said something good about Orion, and they said, well, they treated me unfairly, and therefore I'm not going to subscribe to your channel. I can't speak to that one way or the other. Again, Orion has never let me down, not one time. They've always been honest with me, and they've always worked well with me. Now, sometimes their honesty, they may give me the answer that I don't want. If you think that's disrespectful, well, I can't help you with that one. But sometimes they can't just give you the answer that you want because that answer is not available. It may be to do with gear or whatever. But a dealer network's a real problem. When we were crossing the country, what I would do is I would map things out, I would get my phone out the day before and I would look at Can-Am dealerships for Can-Am on road along my path within 100 miles, 200 miles, and I would know when the farthest points were for me to be able to get help. And those are important things to know, because on motorcycles it's not like a car. When you break down, you are in the elements. There's no just sitting on the side of the road protected. You're exposed, man. And if you're in a bad spot, you know, Coach Vic, as you guys know, is in a wheelchair. With her in a wheelchair, man, if we ran into a real problem, it's a real problem. You know, I mean, when we were going out to California, when we crossed over into California, it looks like the Sahara Desert, man, in certain areas. You break down out there, you're in trouble. You're exposed. Or in mountain areas where you have no shoulder. So just, there are things you can't mitigate, but there are things that you can. Make sure you exercise your due diligence and find out where you can get help. Now, where a company like Harley-Davidson has an advantage, they're an American company. Therefore, they have a dealer in every town. I mean, when I rode Harley, you would stop in dealers just to get a cup of coffee, because you could get free coffee at the Harley dealerships, and they were all over the country. So you just have to understand dealer network is an issue here in America, and just because it's a Can-Am dealer doesn't mean they work on Can-Am on-road. So you have to find your Can-Am on-road dealers, because they have all of the off-road stuff, they have the Sea-Doo stuff, all kinds of stuff. And so it may say Can-Am on it, but they may not service your particular vehicle. So just be aware of that, because that's really important to know when you're planning a trip in the event of a breakdown. All right, well, we're going to talk about a few more things, but before we do all that, don't forget, give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, enough of all that. One of the questions that I've been asked several times, not just in the dependability side of it, but also in the parts acquisition side of it, is tires. So let's talk about tires. You know, there was a while during COVID that you could barely get tires. You just couldn't get them, and that was a real problem. So a lot of guys were going to car tires. Now, I'm not going to get into the should I put a car tire on there or not debate. You guys, y'all want to argue with each other down below, you can do that. What do? I use the Kenda tires. I know somebody, Kenda, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I use the Kenda tires. I use the tires that Can-Am recommends that I use on it. It's what I've always done. It's what I'm going to continue to do. So sometimes those things can be a little harder to find. Now, I've never had a problem. When I was out on the road, I had a problem with a tire, and I was near a dealership in Hot Springs. Called them, they got me a tire. Next day they put the tire on there and everything was copacetic, and I was able to do a long ride back home as a result. Now, when I say there was a problem with the tire, I just run through the tread on it, and I didn't realize that, you know, I was putting so much wear on it, and I knew that I was going to put another 1,000 miles on it, and I'm like, well, if I was only going to do 400 or 500, I'd feel comfortable, but to slap another 1,000 on it, I just didn't feel comfortable. So buying another tire, I did that. Now, I know guys who have bought the front tires from car tires and the back tires with car tires, and done different things to balance the tires, you know, with the weighted rings and all that stuff that they put on things. And you can do all that. That's on you, but I don't do that. What do? I do standard Kenda tires, and I have them balanced at the dealership. So tire acquisition, though, is something that if you believe you're going to have a problem, prepare for it. Now, if I was on the road and I ran into a pickle and I needed a tire, and the only tire that I could get was at Discount Tire, I'd slap that baby on there to get home, you know, and then I'd buy a Kenda tire later. I'd do what I needed to do, but just understand that little things can sometimes create real problems. So there's that. It's not like motorcycle tires. When you have a motorcycle, you can take a tire off of a Honda, put it on a Triumph. You take that tire off that Triumph, put it on a Ducati, take it off that. You know, now Harley has their recommended tires and all that stuff, but there again, a lot of that stuff is interchangeable from brand to brand and all that. But with something as unique as the Spyder, there are tires specifically designed for it. And there's no other brand out there that is built like this. So when you utilize the tire that was made for it, you really don't have a lot of choices as to what you're going to get. Now I'm going to answer a controversial one. Do I know anyone who was very frustrated with the purchase of their Spyder and had problems with it out of the box? Yes. I come into contact with thousands of people a year who buy Spyders. And, you know, with the overwhelming majority of people, it is big man thumbs up, awesome. But I've had friends and acquaintances and people on this channel who have ordered a Spyder and got it, and all of a sudden they purchased it and there was a problem with the engine, there was a problem with the electrical portions of it, there was a problem with all kinds of little things. And you know, here recently we all know the CarPlay boondoggle, debacle, whatever you want to call it. Can-Am sold a bunch of vehicles, CarPlay's on it, then there was a licensing issue with Apple apparently, and all of a sudden CarPlay wasn't working. Now they've got it updated, they got it working. Is it working 100%? Well, I think that's a debatable point, and I'll let you guys slug that one out down below as well, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not informed enough. I've not run the updates on this. Not that I can't. The reality is, as you guys know, I have a busy life. I have a lot going on health-wise in my family, and we'll just leave that one right there on the doorstep. But the CarPlay thing, you know, that sort of thing, there were a lot of unsatisfied customers about it, and that's just the way it is. So is BRP the perfect manufacturer who never has a problem and never does anything that leaves you in want? I would say that if you expect that from anyone, you're just an unrealistic person. Should the CarPlay have been resolved out of the box? Absolutely, 100%. It should have been, and I think it's baloney that it wasn't. So there you go. Now you got my 2 cents on the CarPlay debacle, okay? It should have been right from the very, very beginning, but it wasn't. Now, is that a deal breaker for me? No. Did I buy something with CarPlay? No. They let me ride this one. I was not bent up about the CarPlay thing, honestly. The only reason I want CarPlay on this, honestly, the only thing I'm going to use is the map, my Apple Maps. That's it. Apart from that, I have no need for it. I don't care about the music side of it. I don't care about all of the other side of it, the phone stuff. I don't care about all that. All I care about is the Apple Maps when I'm traveling, because I like the Apple Map. I use it in my truck, in my CarPlay, and I like the Apple Maps. Now, I've got a Zumo XT I could mount on any Spyder that I have. It's mounted on my other Spyder, and I swap it back and forth from my Spyder to my Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro. So there are people out there who have had bad experiences, but that is not my experience. Now, BRP asked me a long time ago, 3 years ago, to be an ambassador. Obviously, I had been riding for years. I had already crossed the country 2 times and put darn near 30,000 miles on my Spyder before they asked me. So I was all in. So when they asked me, did them asking me to be an ambassador and giving me a machine to ride, did that sway my opinion to where I couldn't be fair? You know, there are some that are going to say, well, yeah, of course it does. You can't be objective. I'm going to tell you this. I would have said exactly what I've said today, because that's my experience. It's my experience on my personal Spyder, and it's been my experience. Last year, they loaned me a Ryker. It did well. I told you the things I liked and disliked about it. They loaned me a 2022 RT base. I rode it, put thousands of miles on it. I liked it, told you the good and the bad and the ugly on that. Now I'm going to ride this one for a year, hopefully a year, and be able to tell you all the good and the bad and the ugly about it as well. And that's the cool thing. So, but I'm not a fanboy in the sense that when I own something, I can tell you what I like and dislike about it, because nothing is perfect, including the person riding this beautiful machine. I think the Spyder is a solid platform. It's a good-looking platform. It rides well. People can call it a Miata. People can call it a snowmobile. You can call it whatever you want. I really don't care. I get a lot of that hate, oh, you're riding this, what a blah, 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 blah. Whatever, man. That stuff doesn't even wrinkle my brow. I make no excuses. I love what I'm riding. It's great. Can-Am makes an exceptional product, and I love riding this darn thing. And so far, my dealership has been Johnny on the daggum spot every single time. So I got no heartburn. Is life perfect on the Spyder? Life ain't perfect on anything. Whether it's my Ram truck, my wife's Honda van, my Triumph Rally 900 Pro, my Triumph Speed Triple, my Suzuki SV650X, my BMW 1984 R65, or the little Honda CB300 FF. Yeah, or my 2019 Spyder, or this beautiful 24 Spyder Sea to Sky. Nothing is perfect. All right. Well, there you have it. Another one in the books. A true conversation, a true discussion on the dependability. Be sure and share your thoughts down below, because you matter. Absolutely you do. And that's why I'm going to tell you this. I want you, yes you, go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself. And remember, if you're not having fun, you are most definitely doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day, and I will see you on the road real soon.